Hi guys, my name's Seb Tudor, I'm the man on the Silver Mountain, and welcome back. Now today I wanted to talk about something that I actually came across whilst doing some paperwork last week. Something that I had not entirely forgotten about, but something that I haven't looked at in a while. And that was when I was doing my various qualifications early on, before I was a coach, when I was still working for corporates. I put together a presentation that was part of one of those qualifications on the importance, sorry if I can speak, the importance of universal training standards. And it was something that I had a quick look through, and I really thought I should just do a video on it because it applies not just to work and things like that, but it applies to kind of education more generally, and also applies to the political situation that we find ourselves in at the moment. And so as a result, the long and short of it, I won't give you the full presentation. That was what I think about 15-20 minutes. But the long and short of it was, if we train everyone to the same standard, multi-skill people, make sure that they have within a workplace, make sure that they all know how to do every single thing, then you're not going to necessarily have everybody be the same level of awesome. There are going to be some people that pick up certain things better than others. There are going to be people that do kind of okay across the board. You're going to have that one star that just stands out and does everything perfectly. And you're going to have those people that struggle with everything, and that's fine. But when you have everybody with a good amount of knowledge, a good amount of information, a good amount of access to all of those different skills, and that means that you are never short-handed. It means that you are, unless everybody dies, you either in a figurative or literal sense. You have a useful and diverse workforce that can cover each other, and as a result, it frees up time. It allows for small problems to be dealt with very, very quickly and efficiently without really any need for oversight. And as a result, it just makes things grow and develop far more quickly and far more efficiently. And so as a result, I in my presentation, I went into how there are various different places, including Google and a few other places, that are all doing more and more development kind of work into how to multi-skill people, how to make sure that their training standards are of a good level, and stuff like that. You've got people even in places like the games industry, where they are making sure that everyone in their studio has a good knowledge, if not full appreciation of how the coding software works, how the development software works, so that anyone in their studio can go in and add to the game, so that the game gets made faster. It can be made more succinctly and doesn't cause a problem. We've seen mixed results, though, to be fair, with that last one. But in terms of what this means more for education and for the other larger issues that I mentioned at the beginning, it's a case of, in schools we get kind of this very limited amount of multi-skilling. Everyone has, at least in the UK, everyone has English, maths and science, and then everything else is kind of either dependent on the school and then also very much dependent on the student. And that, obviously there are going to be people that want to specialize, people that want to focus off in different areas, and there are certain areas, for example, like general studies programs and things like that, that do try to give a more well-rounded appreciation. However, those well-rounded appreciations, as someone that sat through one, not when they first started coming in, really, they were fucking abysmal. And from what I understand from some of the people that I've coached who have been university students or whatever, they haven't got an awful lot better. And a lot of the things that are taught in schools do not apply to life afterwards. And a lot of the things that aren't even touched on in schools, for instance, things like relationships or taxes or how your national insurance functions or social security for the states, and all of that kind of thing, when none of those things are touched on in any meaningful way. They might be referenced in passing or whatever else, and so as a result it leaves a group of people leaving school, leaving education, that place that should have enriched them, with even if they're going on to higher education, a pretty solid limit on the kind of breadth of their skills. And a lot of it comes down to rote learning and rote kind of acquisition of knowledge, which again is repetition and regurgitation. And then once that's done, utilizing it or developing that knowledge, using it to establish a good foothold in the things that you're doing, how it applies to transferable skills, what transferable skills you've even gained in the first place. None of those things really spring out and develop from education, especially in kind of initial education up through till high school before university anyway. And so, this is part of the problem that we're seeing, where people are remarkably uninformed, where there's not enough good, reliable information around for people to pick up and rely on. And so this is where it cascades into something bigger, where our current political state, and both in the UK and elsewhere on the planet, there is an awful lot of lying, twisting of issues, twisting of things, misinformation, fake news, all of that kind of stuff that's floating around. And yet the way to get past that is education. But with education, you need to have that kind of uniformity, that level of everyone understanding and growing to the same extent. You can cover different subjects of speciality while still ensuring that everybody gains all of that additional information. When I've been training people for corporates and the places that I've worked in before, I would have a class size of people, 30 to 50 people. And we'd be going through all sorts of stuff. And even though some of those people will be working in cafes, some of those people will be working on shop floors, some of those people will be working in back office or assistant roles, some of those people would be working kind of up the chain, as it were, so that they were trying to move from a previous job into this new job and move up a position. So you would have a very wide range of different knowledge bases as well. And so all of them are going to be specialising in their specialist subject, specialist topic. This person's a cafe worker, this person's an office worker, this person's a floor worker, this person's doing warehouse work. But they all still need to know the same things, the same baseline, with the same transferable skills, the same transferable knowledge, and the same useful things to draw from. In which case, it's not... And we would have exams and tests and things as well to follow up on that, and that would be a way of checking in, but it wasn't the way that you made sure that those people were doing their best. That would be, the proof is in the pudding. It would be going and making them do the job, seeing how they do. And this is where now our politicians are not trained. They're not trained leaders. They're very rarely trained managers. A lot of these people are have kind of gone into positions from wealth into wealth, especially in our current government. There is a very significant swell in the number of people who kind of don't know what they're talking about, but still ending up in power just because, as certain people have described individuals like Michael Gove, they speak very well. Which is bollocks, because everything that falls out of his mouth is nonsense. But it's same with Boris Johnson. But it's a thing that there's a perception there that allows them to swing by and just get through. And so as a result, looking at these situations really supports the idea that, firstly, for us, for just individuals, we should be looking to develop as many transferable skills, as many knowledge bases as we possibly can, because, as I've said in other videos, as one particularly great teacher said to me, who was a biology teacher, you need to, it's not a wise man knows how to find and use information, not know it from heart. And so as a result, it's not a case of you being able to recall every single thing, every single fact, the way that exams in schools want you to. It's a way of knowing how to find that information, finding that information, and then applying it. And if you can do that, then you win. But then, looking up the chain to those people who are in power, there is no uniformity there. There's no entry exam for office. There's no checking of qualifications, certifications, and experience. There is no control mechanism in place other than the British people, or other than the people in the election, whatever, the people voting. And so this is where we start to run into problems. Because, as I've talked about in other videos, when the whole status monitoring part of our brain with the hierarchies developed through kind of the interactions with serotonin, we allow a level of leeway to those people in charge because we expect self-sacrifice. We expect them to sacrifice themselves in various ways for the group. And when we don't see that happening, when we see them lying and cheating and stealing and doing silly, detrimental things, that's where we end up kind of getting angry at them, feeling betrayed and disappointed. And so as a result, we need to start, at the very least, looking towards a future where training standards aren't just things for corporate. Universal education standards aren't just things that are kind of occasionally enforced and occasionally looked for. The breadth of those educational standards needs to be far increased, and the depth needs to be developed as well. And then we need to apply this to the highest stations in our society, because otherwise we kind of end up in a situation like a couple of places that I've been to work, where if the training standards are so lax, then either no one can do the job properly and everything falls to pieces, or one person, maybe two, can do it really well and they kind of cover for everybody, but as soon as they're gone, everything falls to pieces. So even if there are a couple of good people at the moment kind of holding workplaces or educational establishments or countries together, then that's all very well and good. But as soon as those people are gone, everything collapses. We can't let that happen. Because if everything collapses, then either us as individually, us being individually affected in work, in education, as citizens within a country, that's a problem. That collapse affects us on every level of our lives. But then looking at the larger scheme, that collapse affects everybody. We are now living on a planet that is so small thanks to technology and transportation being so much more readily available, that a collapse in one place has ripple effects. And we should be looking at those right now already, considering the turmoil that's going on at the moment in various places. And we should be looking to move past those as swiftly as possible. And one of the best ways to do that, as with everything, starts with education. It starts with development from the ground up, from the bottom up, and that includes enforcing standards on leadership. Now, I'd love to hear your thoughts, guys, because I know that there are an awful lot of you out there, no doubt, who work in corporates and who probably have varying levels of kind of training standard uniformity pushed on you. And, I'm interested to hear your experiences. How successful has it been in your situations? Because I've seen it go really well. I've also seen it go terribly. And most of the time it's gone terribly purely because of the person doing the training. Purely because the person doing the training has their own set way. They try to teach their own set way to everybody. And then that set way might not necessarily be completely in line with everything that's expected. In which case, the trainer hasn't been trained well enough up to the standard to then carry it off for everyone else and cascade that training on. And so as a result, I've seen it go horribly because the universal training standards, the standards that are put in place, aren't well enforced and they're not very well developed. But also I've seen it go amazingly well, where everyone has known what they need to do, everyone's known their part, everyone's been able to go and cover in different areas and do different things. And this is both in an educational setting to an extent, as well as just in these corporate jobs that I've probably seen more of it in, where you've got people up to a high enough standard that they can do that. And I'm not just talking about adding more education kind of requirements, like extra tests and things like that to the teachers first. But I'm saying making sure that those teachers have a wide range of experience and knowledge. that they can actually draw from, apply. And if they don't have, where they've got those gaps need filling in. And that should be what the focus of, say, a PGCE equivalent course should be, rather than not. And this was all kind of part of the presentation that I kind of gave, but it was much more tailored towards the board of regional managers, I think it was, that I had to give the presentation to. But it applies on such a vast, kind of expansive scale across every sector and across basically all of society. Everyone's kids need to be educated to a even level. If parents then take their kids, as I believe they should do, and go and educate them further outside of school to one extent or another, that's fine. But at the very least, all of those kids should hit that marker, which should include things like life skills, should include things like interpersonal skills. Because that's where the system at the moment falls down, because it's stuck on an industrial model of education that only cares if you can go into a factory, when factories aren't jobs that people get so much anymore because of automation. So I'm interested in hearing your thoughts on this, guys, both in terms of your experiences, what you think we could do to better enforce this, because I've got my own ideas, I've got my own opinions, and I've actually had some of you guys asking more for my opinions and things on certain areas. So if you're interested in those as well on various topics, leave a comment down below on kind of what you'd be interested in hearing on. But otherwise, guys, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the video later. Take care. Thank you very much for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this video and found it interesting, then please drop us a like, share this video, and subscribe for more. And I'll see you in the video tomorrow. Take care.